Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, you've heard me say before, these are all great companies. You should be using them yourself. So take 3 minutes. That's all it takes. Listen to these shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then when you're done, go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times before, probably the best equipment purchase I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com. Join the 100 million fans and users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Schedules, rosters, results, facilities. They do it all better and faster than the other platforms. And I'm telling you, their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Find out all the great things that they can do for you and your program. We also want to say thanks to Beacon Creative and Wall of Fame. Now, Vital Signs Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to the next level. It's a content creation service where they're going to take your stories, your data, and turn them into compelling stories that you can then put on your digital platforms. You really got to see it to believe it. I want you to email John Townsend, and you can do that by emailing John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. That's beaconwalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you did. We also want to say thank you to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a game changer with their solutions, including things like, digital ticketing. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising? The list just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. That's hometown.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub. Booster Hub is the #1 software for booster clubs, and you need boosters that are going to deliver results, not create headaches. If you've got a weak system, along with volunteer turnover, that could leave your program vulnerable. But Booster Hub solves this. Sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, it's all handled through one secure system. Communication, scheduling, spiritware sales, and when your volunteers change, and we know that happens, nothing falls through the cracks. Booster Hub keeps your funding strong, keeps your fraud risks low, and your community stays engaged. Go to boosterhub.com for more information. That's boosterhub.com. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's also say thanks to our friends at Gipper. I want you to go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to turn you into a social media marketing guru in no time. Modernize your online and on-campus marketing. Let the whole community, let the whole state know all the great work that your athletic department is doing through social media posts, newsletters, and more. Go to Gipper.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And the information that came back on these surveys was almost always over the top positive. And having that positive data, it's incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe a principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying right here in Florida today, and we're actually going back to a very special place in my career, my life, Tallahassee, Florida. We're going to be visiting with Justin Van Tassel. Now, just a little bit of context here. I actually hired Justin to come and teach and coach for us at Maclay. And one of those people that, I'm just very proud of. And we're going to get into his career and the things that he did. But I was very fortunate. I don't know if it was my skill or whatever, and the school was involved too, but we really hit a home run with this guy. Just a tremendous leader, tremendous teacher and coach, and just very excited to finally, and I can say finally, get him on the podcast. So Justin Van Tassel, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Glad to be here. And yes, finally is a good word. We've been trying for a little while.
Okay. Well, let's go and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Go ahead and take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Justin Van Tassel origin story?
So, I guess I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan, just outside of Detroit, and that kind of set the foundation for who I was. I went to a small private school from K through 8. Obviously, athletics have always been a huge part of my life. I grew up playing sports. Every team I was on was pretty successful, not because of me. Teammates were great, and that just kind of drove my passion and competitiveness. I went to a private high school, a college prep school, so kind of similar to where I'm at now at Maclay. And I was very fortunate in sports to have great coaches and great leaders and great mentors. So I grew up in middle school basically playing football and basketball. Kind of knew about other sports, but that was really in middle school what I did. And then in high school, football, basketball, wrestling, and lacrosse. And that's where I really started to decide that athletics was going to be my life, teaching and athletics. So sophomore year of high school, I grew up in a single parent home. My mom was a single parent. She worked really hard. It was really kind of instilled in me that if I didn't get a scholarship to college, I wasn't going to college. And when you're in a college prep school where everybody goes to college, I had to work hard at sports and get that scholarship. So just did that, dove right into the athletic piece. My freshman year, I really kind of forgot about the academic piece. My football coach had some nice conversations with me that would not have been allowed today. But great conversations got me back on track. And, really, I fell in love with lacrosse when I was in high school. And that was probably my best sport. But, who doesn't love football? So when I started trying to decide what I wanted to do, I couldn't really decide between football and lacrosse. So choosing a college was pretty difficult. I had a lot of offers for lacrosse and not a lot for football. But in my head, I really, really wanted to play football. So kind of just going through high school, very fortunate to have just some of the best coaches ever. My wrestling coach was the first American to win a gold medal. Really, really just instilled in me work ethic, unlike anything I'd ever experienced before in my life. So, and we still talk to this day. Great guy. We still keep in touch. I mean, just an amazing role model for me. And then when it came time to pick a college, and I might be going a little too fast here, I just jumped through a lot of my life. But I had D1 offers for lacrosse, Division One, but I didn't really care about that. I wanted to play. Ended up picking a Division 3 school, Defiance College in
Oh
Northwest
yeah.
Ohio. And the plan was I was going to do both. I was going to play football, going to play lacrosse, but football was something I just could not give up. I had to keep playing football. I remember telling people at the time that when I got older and I told people I played college sports, if they asked what I played and I said lacrosse, usually the follow-up would be, "What's that?" And I didn't want to have to deal with that. I wanted to be like, "Oh, you played college football. That's amazing." So, really wanted to do that. And then, of course, after I decided to go to Defiance, they dropped lacrosse, and I ended up having to just play football. So, not a bad situation. Loved it there. Great time. Met my wife there, so that was just an awesome experience. But it's kind of ironic with that. I couldn't really give up lacrosse, so I kept looking for avenues for lacrosse. And by the time I was a senior, I ended up making a semi-pro lacrosse team in Michigan called Great Lakes Lacrosse Club, and played for them for a little while. That was great, cool, really cool experience. Traveled around the Midwest playing lacrosse after college, which was pretty fun. So that kind of set up my coaching life. Was just it's always been a part of my life. I always knew I wanted to do it. And from the teaching side, I had an amazing sophomore history teacher that just instilled a passion for history. And I just kind of I've been stuck with it. I've been a history teacher and a coach my whole life. So it's kind of where it came from.
Oh God, I just love listening to the stories. And you and I have spoken obviously over the years. I'd heard
Yeah.
bits and pieces of that, but thanks for sharing. I'm going to go all the way back to your high school days. You mentioned
Okay.
football, basketball, wrestling, and lacrosse. Now you know me. I'm huge multi-sport
Yeah.
promoter, both for athletes and for coaches. And I'm a little bit older than you, maybe a lot older. When you were in high school, do you remember any of your coaches coming up to you and saying, "Justin, you need to, leave this wrestling alone. You need to focus on football or lacrosse." Was that a thing for you?
No, not really. And I don't think for our generation it was. I think the whole landscape of sports has changed to more year-round focus. And coaches have figured out, I don't know if it's for good or for bad, that you can make money in the off season if you have kids doing travel ball or club or this or that. And I say that lightly because I do that as well. Um, but I'm still a huge proponent of multi sports. And one of the things that I did not notice in high school was the injuries that we see today. There are so many more injuries today, and I think it's because these kids are focusing way too young, and so they don't develop all the muscles, they don't develop all the different types of cutting and mobility that they get with other sports. Uh, just from a lacrosse side of it, I've been coaching lacrosse for the last 20 plus years. Um, so I'm kind of old, I guess. But if I get a football player that comes out for lacrosse, I don't have to teach them how to backpedal. I don't have to teach them how to open their hips and break and run because I know they're getting that skill in football. And the kids that don't do that and only focus on lacrosse, they don't have those same skills. So I love the multi-sport athlete. And when I was in high school, my football coach was also my lacrosse coach. So I had that. Wrestling was a little more unique, and we didn't wrestle all year round. We didn't have the off-season AAU wrestling and the year-round clubs that they have today. So it was the first couple of weeks of wrestling. It was kill you to get in shape because you were out of shape coming from football. And but then you wrestled. And when the season was over, you went on to the next sport. And I think the biggest difference is in Michigan, even if you made it really far in the playoffs, you had about a week off between sports. In Florida, this overlap of sports really kind of kills the multi-sport athlete. Um, so in Michigan, it was never really a thought. It was like football season ended. I had a week or two off. Then I'd start wrestling, and then I'd make it all the way to the state tournament, have a week or two off. Then we'd start lacrosse. It was kind of so you didn't have the coaches didn't have to fight for the athletes the same way. Whereas in Florida, if you wrestle and you make it to the state tournament, you're going into March. You've already missed half of lacrosse season. So it's tough.
Yeah, and again, we don't want to say that it's right or wrong. It's wrong. Okay, we know that
Yeah,
multi-sport
yeah,
experience is better. Um,
I agree.
you talked about, you had sounded like you have some great mentors as coaches. You had your great
Yeah.
mentors as a teacher. Um, when did you realize that, okay, I'm going to be a teacher and a coach? Was that, junior year in college, or was that you knew that was it all the way through college?
So I'm kind of unique in that situation. Like I said, single parent home. My grandparents were a huge part of my life, and they were at everything. Uh, and I kind of made a decision when I was in high school. I knew I either wanted to be a teacher or a spy. I wanted to go CIA. That was like, I had an appointment at Air Force Academy. I was thinking this is my path. But then right before college, I had kind of a serious girlfriend, and you start talking about like, hey, what's going to happen with the rest of your life? Before I even got to college, I knew that when I had kids eventually, that I wanted to always be there. And I think I was really heavily drawn to that because I never had a dad that was never there, and my mom worked a lot. So my grandparents were always there, and my mom busted her butt to provide for me, and she was at most things. But I kind of made that decision that the only way I would never miss my kids' events was if I was a teacher and a coach. Because teachers get out when school gets out, and then they go to all the events. So it was a pretty internal, personal decision that to be involved in my future kids' lives that I didn't even have yet. The only way I could guarantee I could do that was to teach. I had a lot of friends whose dads were never there. They were busy. They were lawyers, doctors, whatever. And I didn't really care about money. I grew up poor in Detroit. It didn't matter. I just knew I wanted to be there when I had kids for their stuff. And I think I've accomplished that. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I can be a witness to that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
absolutely were there. Let's go and take our first break. Once again, our guest
Okay.
today is Justin Van Tassel. He's a teacher, a coach, a leader at here in Florida at the McClay School. Let's take that break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million fans and users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Justin, you kind of took our listeners on your journey, in Michigan and then to Defiance. I always loved that name. I'd see that name on a college.
Yeah.
What was your post-college experience like? I know you had a few stops before we were able to steal you and hire you at McClay. Share that part of your journey.
Yeah, so originally, right after college, I moved back to Michigan and I started working at Troy Athens High School. And I was a volunteer football coach, I think assistant wrestling coach. I started as a volunteer, ended up getting a little bit of money, and then a volunteer lacrosse coach. And there was just really no job openings up there. So pretty early on, we decided to move to Florida because there was just a lot of job openings. And for good or for worse, I was a head coach right away, right at a young age. Came down to Florida, and I was an assistant football coach and a head wrestling coach at Treasure Coast High School. Um, I think that was like 2006 to like 2009. Uh, 22 years old, 23 years old, head coach. Man, was that learning by fire. It was just kind of thrown into it. I knew I wanted to be a head coach because I'm kind of stubborn and I wanted things done a certain way. And it's hard to be an assistant when you know how you want things to work. But I learned so much early on as a head coach. And then I went from there over to Martin County, where I coached. I was the head lacrosse coach, and I was an assistant wrestling coach. And then also helped out with football on and off for a couple of years. But I've been a head coach since 2006 in some way, shape, or form. Treasure Coast to Martin County to St. Edwards, and then ultimately up here to Maclay. Um, and that journey, I've been a head coach for middle school basketball, wrestling, lacrosse, middle school girls basketball, just a lot of different roles. Football, I've always been an assistant or a positional coach. Never wanted to be a head football coach. That's just way too much work and pressure. But that's kind of been my jumps around Florida. And each stop, I've learned a lot about the systems, the athletic directors, the politics, and kind of ultimately how I wanted to shape the rest of my career. And that's really what brought me up towards Tallahassee.
Now, you mentioned, you're a head coach at a young age. I remember I was a head football coach at 26, and
Yeah.
that expression, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you found out as a young head coach that, hey, you just didn't know this went with the job?
Yeah, it was just all the extra things outside of the X's and O's. Obviously, anybody that coaches knows the game, but it's the handling parents, it's the emailing, it's the scheduling, it's the organization that's needed to run a program, uniform ordering, t-shirt ordering, lunches, fundraising, all the different things. And most of it is with very little thanks. Um, and in every team that you coach, 95% of the people are happy and 5% want your head. And I think the thing that I had to learn the earliest was not to let that 5% affect me and to stand my ground and stay strong in my beliefs and what we were doing. And as long as you know what you're doing is for the right reasons, then you can fall back on that and you can, stand on your convictions. But yeah, it was just all the other things besides the X's and O's that take up most of your time. Out on the field coaching, that's so fun. That's what we love. I could be out there with the high school kids all day, every day, and there's never an issue. It's all the extra stuff that causes the hard work and the headaches and all of those things.
Don't you know? That's so true.
Yeah.
As you were, and these are my words, as you were kind of climbing the coaching ladder, what were some of the stops? What are some of the things or maybe lessons that you took with you that you eventually brought to our school at Maclay?
I would say the biggest lesson is to surround yourself with great people. Listening to other podcasts, listening to other coaches, always trying to grow who I am as a coach was a big part of my growth and development. Uh, Most head coaches have a little bit of ego because we all think we're good at what we do. But having the ability to constantly be willing to learn and grow is what really helped me succeed and continue to get head coaching jobs and continue to advance in the coaching circuit. Because if you think you know it all, you don't. As soon as you think you do, and learning to find great people around me and to hire great assistants and to hire people to fill my gaps and allow them to do their thing, I think was the biggest growth that I had to go through. Early on, I tried to do it all myself, and I thought I could. I was young and ignorant, and I'm like, I can do all of this. But the older you get, the more you realize you need strong people around you. And you don't always have to be the bad guy. You can hire somebody, you can do this, you can put people in different situations. And that was really probably the biggest thing that has helped me was being willing to bring a lot of people in and allow them to take a lot off of my plate.
You're absolutely right. It's that point when you have enough confidence in yourself, not cockiness, but confidence that you can
Mhm.
delegate certain things, and then allowing those assistant coaches or whatever role they're filling to grow on their own and go through that
Yep.
same process that we all went through as coaches. Absolutely. Wow. Um, let's go and talk about your, for lack of a better word, recruitment. Our situation at Maclay, talking to the listeners now, we had a lacrosse program that, had a long and rich history of success. We had encountered kind of a speed bump or a hiccup, if you will, and we needed a change. And my boss allowed me the opportunity to go out and, just find a coach who was also going to be able to come in and teach. And, we'll get to all of those great things later. But when you first saw that opening for head lacrosse coach / teacher at Maclay, what were your thoughts?
Well, it's actually kind of a funny story. When I got the phone call about the opening, I was on a lacrosse field in Vero Beach coaching, and one of my assistant coaches was like, "Hey, you got to take this phone call. It's somebody from Tallahassee." And a week before that, I had just looked at taking the Florida State job. So I was already kind of Tallahassee was in my brain, but I wasn't really considering anything. It didn't really understand that that job was available. So I took a phone call in Vero Beach and thought, okay, let me check this out. And then all it takes is a quick visit up to Maclay, and you can see it's just an incredible campus. And the biggest draw for me was the ability to kind of shape a community, start a club, start a program, and just expand it exponentially from where it was. And when I was in South Florida, if you call Vero Beach South Florida, depending on where you're from, when I was in South Florida, I had grown a couple clubs, started a few clubs, and had already gone through a lot of the trials and errors of doing all of that. So I had experience in that. I knew the pitfalls I was going to face, and Maclay is not necessarily an easy place to be, but if you've gone through all of those things, you know how to handle the parents, you know how to grow a community, you know how to get people involved, then it was just a ripe opportunity. So when I got that phone call, I took it, I checked it out, and it was just a great opportunity for it to bring my whole family up here.
Well, we're very glad that you did come up. Let's go and take another break. When we come back, I'm going to have Justin share, some of the things that he did, some of the many things that he did at Maclay, not just with lacrosse. So let's go and take that break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management, the team at Home Campus is going to make your job a lot easier. Their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com for more information. Make sure you mention the podcast. They'll give you a nice discount. That's homecampus.com. We also want to thank Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative has taken that to a new level. It's a content creation service where they're going to take your stories, your athletes, your teams, your history, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then share through your social media platforms. You've really got to see it to believe it. I want you to email John Townsend, and you can do that at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. That's Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Definitely a winning team. And we want to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a game changer with their solutions that include things like, digital ticketing, of course, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Justin, I want to share with the listeners, we definitely, when we were hiring you, we needed a lacrosse coach. We needed a head coach to come in, get the program back on track, restore confidence, restore discipline. I don't mind saying that. You can remember some of those, early seasons. but we were also looking for a quality academic teacher. Maclay's a college prep school. And for me as an AD, I'm looking for somebody who was not just a single sport coach. And you came in that first year, knocked it out of the park as a history teacher. You were our middle school football coach. And again, talking about restoring, confidence and, accountability and getting the numbers up. You did a great job with that. This is before lacrosse even got started. And before that, you helped us try to get our wrestling program going. And then, oh, by
Yeah.
the way, you're coaching lacrosse in the spring. What are some of your memories of that first year or two at Maclay?
Man, well, the wrestling one is pretty fun. I remember fighting to try to get a wrestling room built, and one of the struggles at Maclay was every time there was space, our enrollment was going up, so it had to be turned into classroom space. And so every time I thought I had a wrestling room, it got nixed and turned into something else. But yeah, middle school football was great. I had a ton of fun doing that. I did that for 4 years, and then I jumped up to varsity for a few years. I did the wrestling for a few years, and when that was done, I took over middle school girls basketball. That was also floundering, and then my last year doing that, we had like 20 something girls on middle school basketball. And then there's always been the lacrosse stuff. I think it's just one of the guys here, Scott Egan, who I know you know really well, who is an athletic director as well. He always calls me a dying breed. He's like, they just don't make them like you anymore because you just coach all the time. And I just love athletics, and I'm guess I am not unique because my wife does that also. My wife coaches volleyball, then soccer, and then now girls lacrosse, which we have started here at Maclay. And before that, she was doing softball. So we're just a big sports family, and it's just kind of in our DNA. And one of the things that attracted me to Maclay was the ability to have my whole family here so I'm not just driving all over the place. I used to spend hours in a car going from school to practice to home. And we basically just, I mean, put a cot up and we live here. And that was kind of something that I liked. I was attracted to it. So it really wasn't that hard. It was just teach during the day, then go right to practice. I mean, I love sports. I love being part of it. So,
And again, I think that's one of the reasons that you and I hit it off so well is, my wife and I were the same way. We're just career coaches. That's what we do. And I hate to call it a dying breed, but it's definitely, I would say it's an old school mentality. So,
mhm.
athletic directors, when you can find those people that they love coaching, they want to do multiple sports, hang on to them like, like they're gold because they are. Um, let's talk about the leadership component and take a laser focus on how you came in and approached the lacrosse team. Now, again, the team had success. They had won games, won championships, that sort of thing. But we definitely needed a reset for a couple of reasons. What were some of the things that you did initially to start that process?
Initially, I took the, Nick Saban approach, and I didn't focus on winning. I didn't focus on any of that. I focused on standards every single day that I knew would get us to where we needed to be. And we had some kids that had kind of run the program before and did whatever they wanted to do. And so when I started holding them to these standards that they had to adhere to, there was a little bit of butting heads at the beginning, but the nice thing about high school kids in athletics, especially the best athletes, they want to be coached. They want to be held to a higher standard. They want to be pushed. And once they realize that you're doing that for them, they usually fall in line pretty quick. And if you get the best players to fall in line, then everybody else just follows suit. You know as well as anybody, a player-led team is the kind of team you want to have. But when I got here, it was a struggle at first. It was a lot of nope, we don't do that. That's not how we win. Like there's a right way to win and a wrong way to win, and we're going to do everything the right way. So it was just having high standards from the beginning and then sticking to those standards, regardless of who the player was that broke them. The consequences were the same. And once everybody understood that, and you take the best player and you bench him in an important game because he's not doing things the right way, that sent a pretty strong message early on. And then it was easy because once you start having success, then everybody falls in line as well. So it was just really focusing on the standards. And I love that Nick Saban approach. You can't think about winning. You just think about doing what you can every single day, and the wins just take care of themselves.
Right. And again, I want to emphasize the having standards and then being consistent with how they're
Mhm.
applied. And that was something you did such a great job. One of the things that I would share with all of our coaches was, the phrase, make it easy for me to back you up, make it easy for me to support you. And it was always easy to do that because you were so consistent with how you applied your standards. And they weren't, draconian measures at all. It was just, hey,
Yeah.
this is how you run a program. And you did have some, let's say, you had some very talented, I can think of two in particular, but
Yeah.
very willful young men that there were some growing pains with them and with their families, their parents.
Oh yeah.
But guess what happened? Greatest season in the history of the school, district championship, state playoffs, et cetera. And then I still remember, you had a great season going on, and then we ran into COVID. What,
Man,
what
that
I
was the
hate to bring
worst.
that up again, but
Yeah.
I'm going to share with our listeners, what happened.
So we were winning a state title that year. I don't care what anybody says. We were loaded. We were beating everybody by 10 goals or more. I had gotten to the team to where we had just so much talent and they had all bought into the system and everybody was just rocking and rolling. The two people you were talking about both ended up going to Division 1 playing lacrosse. They were juniors that year. They were just loaded and ready to go. And no, they were seniors that year, but I had a heavy, heavy junior
You
class.
did, yeah.
Um, and I mean, we were just everything was great. And the biggest struggle for that was the uncertainty of what was going to happen. So we were beating everybody, set to win, and all of a sudden they just canceled it on our way to a game. And we're like, okay, I guess we're not playing. I think it was Creekside or somebody. We're not going to go play Creekside. And it was dealing with the mental and emotional issues of the kids, like what's happening. So we started doing all these fun Instagram things and trying to make all these reels and TikToks or whatever. I let them handle all that, just to keep them engaged, keep them going. And then eventually we got the word that the season was canceled, and that was rough. That was rough. Those kids were working really, really hard, and that was a struggle. That kind of set us back a little bit, and winning is contagious, and when stuff gets ripped from you a little bit, it's hard to get back to it. I fully believe we were going to win a state title that year, and then the following year, we lost in the regional finals, and we should have won. But I believe that we weren't used to that level of winning yet, and we lost by a goal. Had we won the year before, that would have been a cakewalk. We'd have walked right through that. But that's kind of just how those things happen. COVID hit everybody hard, hit everybody differently, and it was tough. And then on top of it, we had the political side of it, where kids on the team disagreed with certain things and didn't get along because of how things were being handled. So that was a tough situation for everyone. It was really hard, and I just tried to focus on us still improving our skills. And all right, guys, you're going to do this with your left hand today. Go hit a wall, go outside, do these things, and just trying to keep the kids engaged as best I could. That was tough, though, for sure.
Yeah, I still look back at that season. I thought you did a masterful job again of handling the aftermath because there was no playbook for that. It was unprecedented from a leadership standpoint how to do it. Let's go and take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we're visiting today with Justin Van Tassel, longtime teacher and coach at the McClay School here in Tallahassee, Florida. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our newest sponsor, Booster Hub. Booster Hub is the #1 booster club software. And if you have a booster club at your school or in your district, you really need to check out Booster Hub. You're looking for boosters that can help deliver results, not create headaches for you. And between volunteer turnover. If you've got a weak organizational system, that can leave your booster program really vulnerable to fraud and just losing momentum. But Booster Hub solves that for you. They're going to handle sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, spirit sales. All of that's going to flow through their secure system. And when volunteers do change, nothing falls through the cracks. Basically, Booster Hub gives your boosters more time to support your program as fans. And isn't that what you want? Go to boosterhub.com. Give your boosters the platform they deserve and the platform they need to be successful. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing guru. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Gipper's going to show you how to use social media posts, newsletters, and more to help get your brand out there and showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing. Go to Gipper.com for more information. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Justin, of your many accomplishments since you came to Tallahassee, I think for me, one of the most impressive is what you've done in the area of, club sports and development. And a lot of times, this, school sports and club sports can have an adversarial relationship. And, you came in, we've already shared how you focused on developing, Maclay athletics on 3 different sports while I was there as the AD. But also during that time, you started a very successful club program that started in our local community. And there were already existing lacrosse clubs that I think kind of ended up falling by the wayside to yours because of the way you ran your program. But it's also grown. It's not just local, it's regional, it's state. And you just shared with me you're doing some stuff on a national level. Can you share with our listeners kind of your approach to starting that club, working with school, and some of the things you're doing now that have gone national?
Yeah, sure. So the biggest hurdle I faced when I got to Tallahassee was all the schools that didn't like Maclay because they were rivals and convincing everybody that coming together would be better for everyone. And that's always a struggle. But my focus was primarily Tallahassee is a small community. Most areas are small little communities. And if everyone works together, you're going to have a better end result and a better product. And then with that, my big focus was, again, if we do it the right way and we are very transparent with how and why we do things, then everyone's going to be happy and they're all going to want to get involved. And then the track record kind of, helps sell it and speak for itself. Every year I've coached at Maclay, I've had at least one player get a college scholarship offer. I've had at least one All-American, Coach of the Year, Big Band Players of the Year, all of those things. So the track record says, okay, what we're doing works, and people want to be involved in that. And if you have a fun environment, a fun atmosphere, then that brings more people in. And my focus was always with the young kids. I don't care about winning. I care about learning, development, and doing things the right way. The hard part with that was convincing the dads on the sideline that winning didn't matter. We were learning and getting better. And then I used to make the joke that our U10 teams never won. Our U12 teams would win half the time, but our high school teams never lose. So, where do you want the success to be? When they're 10 years old or when it really starts to matter? So focusing on that kind of growth and focusing on, teaching the skills the right way, not just playing to win. Everybody has fun. Young kids, their playing time doesn't matter. Everybody plays. Everybody has a good time, and they're all learning. Then by the time they get to where it matters, they've got the skill set, they've got the tools, they've got all of that. And it started small. It started with after school clubs at McClay, just putting sticks in hands, just getting kids out there. To now, like even through all of that, we've helped start programs at Godby and Rickards, two schools that didn't even have lacrosse, now have lacrosse. So just growing it, making it something that was accessible for everybody was kind of the goal. Especially with something like lacrosse, it's an expensive sport, and not everybody wants to put that kind of money forward. So, offering scholarships, having reduced fees, giving private lessons, just doing all those extra things to help kids get to where they want to be really helped grow it. And then, we went from playing small little local things to, I took our club up to Connecticut before the national championships, played in national tournaments, and all of that. So it's been a lot of fun. The connections you make throughout the state and with all the other coaches has helped with all of that. It's put together a good environment for all of the kids is really what helps grow it.
Yeah, it was really cool to see the growth of the program, not just with our own student athletes, but those
Yeah.
from the other schools. And you talk about the local public schools there in Tallahassee. There was some, I want to say long-standing, but some pretty, established rivalries,
Oh yeah.
with McClay that over those, first couple of years, you kind of broke down those barriers. When it was school to school, it was still a pretty good rivalry. But now going into, the club relationships, off season and summer, that those kids are playing side by side.
Yeah, it was really fun too because I got to watch a lot of those kids, and a lot of those kids invited me to their signing days. Um, I helped a lot of kids from other schools get scholarships and go play at the next level. And I think that was unique. I don't think a lot of people in this area did that before. I think everybody kind of focused on their own school. And again, I'm a big believer, a rising tide raises all ships, the old cliche. And I always said I wanted to make all of Tallahassee better so that the best teams want to come play all of us. If nobody wants to come to Tallahassee, we're on an island. It's hard to get good teams to come out here. So it helps when they have two or three other people they can play as well and make a weekend out of it and that kind of stuff. So selfishly, I knew that if all of Tallahassee got better, that also would help me get better competition and all that stuff as well. So yeah, it was kind of one of those things that if we can help everybody, it helps all of us, and it makes the whole area better.
Yeah, no, and I love that. The rising tide raises all ships. Great stuff. You mentioned during the break that you're also doing some things that have a national impact. Can you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Yeah, so one of the biggest lacrosse organizations in the country is the Baltimore Crabs, and they have a Florida affiliate called the Florida Crabs. And recently, I've been coaching with them for a little while. About 2 years ago now, I was promoted to a director of coaching for the Florida Crabs. So that's been a great new role. I still coach on a national team, but now I'm also in charge of hiring and firing new coaches and bringing new guys in and fresh blood. And that's been great because I've really gotten to kind of go across the entire state, find great talent, and help grow the sport on a national level. And then through that, I've coached like the Nike National Tournament in Florida when I was coaching the 2025 team. 3 years ago, we won the whole event. So Florida was the national champs for lacrosse. It was pretty first time ever, only time ever. It was pretty cool. So all of those connections and the best thing about that, as you can attest to, is when you're working with a ton of great coaches, you learn so much more yourself. There has not been one event I've gone to where I haven't picked up something from somebody. So I try to find the best coaches in the state. We try to bring the best coaches in, and then we all learn from each other. And the after tournament meetings at the local watering holes have been great for drawing plays up and, hey, how'd you do this? Or to explain your philosophy here. And again, we all learn from each other, and it's great.
Yeah, as you know, sometimes those roundtable meetings are the most productive
Yeah.
as far as exchanging ideas. Really, really
Yep.
cool stuff. Well, Justin, it's always great to sit down with you and talk about our, I guess the old days, but we're not done yet. We always
Yeah.
wrap up our podcast with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're not an athletic director. You're certainly an athletic organizer for sure, but you certainly know your way around the world of athletics. So we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD or a brand new leader, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in their toolbox. So let's take that final break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what Justin Van Tassel puts in his new, we'll call it, leadership toolbox. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my schools, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And the information that would come back on these surveys, very often over the top positive. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but having the survey allowed us to find out their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But having all that positive feedback, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes your principal, and sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting with someone I can truly call an old friend, Justin Van Tassel, longtime teacher and coach at the Maclay School. Tremendous background as a leader, as a coach in athletics. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new leader on their first job. But I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Justin, what 3 tools are going to go into your new, we'll call it a leadership toolbox?
Well, I think everybody that takes on a leadership role, especially if it's for the first time, maybe the most important thing is the ability to listen, to sit back and to listen to the people wherever you are and whatever role you're doing. You'd mentioned on the last commercial surveys are a great way to do that. But I think especially first-time ADs, nothing's worse than a new AD comes in and just shakes everything up and does all these crazy things. Everywhere you go, whether it's coaching or a lacrosse organization or an athletic director, wherever you are, they have systems. They have things in place. They have philosophies and things that you might need to adjust to. So learning to listen to the people around you, what it is they like and dislike, and how they function ultimately helps you be a better leader for them. So that'd be the first one. Right,
Well,
number 2, just go.
yeah, just go and jump right into it. Yeah.
Number 2, I would just piggyback on what I said earlier. You got to have great people around you. Once you realize and learn the philosophy of the organization, you got to go look for people that can complement what it is you're trying to accomplish. Coaching, teaching, athletic director, admins, whatever it is. If you can find the people that complement your mission, your standards, then you're all set for success. And then number 3, I would say things like this: the ability to learn. Never being afraid to take advice from somebody that's been there and done that. As I've gotten older, I have been so much more receptive to other people's ideas, other people's philosophies, little tweaks here and there. So I think, it comes into listening, hiring great people to complement you, and then the ability to be a lifelong learner in whatever role you're in, because so many other people do it so much better than me. And if I can learn from them and take little snippets, then I know I'll do a better job at what I'm doing.
Oh, guys, I love them all. And I share all the time that the listening tool, it's so important. It's so valuable. Sometimes I'll share with others. It's the most important tool. And it's one that I failed to use until much later in my career. I wish I would have used it sooner. Hiring great people, you're an example of that. Definitely we hit a home run when we hired Justin Van Tassel. And being a lifelong learner, the fact that you have been so successful in a number of sports as a leader and in the classroom, definitely You talk the talk, but you're also walking the walk. We
Thank you.
should have done this earlier. Goodness gracious, shame on me. We're definitely going to do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit. And listeners, you have a tremendous resource here from a coaching, from an education, from a leadership standpoint. What's the best way that our listeners can connect with Justin Van Tassel?
I'd probably say email. Email is the best way. jvantassel@maclay.org. I'm always checking my email. It's on my phone. I wouldn't say phone because I get so many calls. That's hard to figure out where they're coming from. But I'm more than willing and more than happy to talk to anybody and, just bounce ideas off each other. So email would be great. Again, it's jvantassel@maclay.org.
Well, Justin, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best as 2026 continues to unfold. And, we'll be coming up to Tallahassee a couple times for some track meets later this spring. I'll
Nice.
try to give you a heads up and maybe we can go out and
Yeah,
get a beverage or two.
sounds great. Looking forward to it.
For our listeners, we look forward to the next episode and want to say thanks for tuning in. Just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories along with some best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.